Welcome everyone to Careers at Stride Presents. My name is Andrea Wilson, and we'll be starting shortly, but feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box, state your name and where you're coming from, and we'll be starting at 4. But welcome everyone to our webinar. All right, I see some folks from Texas and Michigan. Welcome. If you're just joining, feel free to state your name and what state you're coming from in the chat box. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes. All right, Illinois. I see Indiana. Hello. North Carolina. Hey, Florida. Let's see. Welcome. Again, to those just joining, feel free to say hello in the chat box. Say your name, what state you're coming from, and we'll be starting shortly. In Pennsylvania. Welcome. Right. All right. Well, we're going to get started. As folks come into the room, feel free to, again, state your name and what state you're coming from. And while we're doing that, I will introduce myself. My name is Andrea Wilson, and I work in our HR department here at Stride. I've been here for about 4 years now, and I will be your host and moderator for today. Again, this webinar will be recorded, so if you have to step out early or you're unable to stay for the entire time, we'll be recording this and then posting it to our YouTube page later this week. So before I give you just a synopsis of who Stride is, I just wanted to let you see who our panel is for today. We have some wonderful teachers and teacher trainers on today that you'll be hearing from shortly. And I'll let them just hop on the mic just to say their name and their position. So I'll start with Megan, and then we'll go according to the slide.
Hi, everyone. I am Megan O'Mahony. I am in Colorado with Colorado Preparatory Academy, and I teach 6th grade history and also the middle school journalism elective.
Hey everyone, I'm Phil Righthouse. I teach 11th grade English at Indiana Gateway Digital Academy, and I also coordinate our homeroom curriculum.
Hello, I am LaShondra Wigfall, and I am a 6th and 7th grade English language arts teacher for the middle school at Insight School of Oklahoma.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christina Russell, and I am in Denver, Colorado, and I am a teacher trainer.
Hello, I'm Jenny Murphy, and I'm in a small town in the corner of Southwest Georgia, and I am a teacher trainer specialist with the Talent Development and Community team.
Thank you, everyone. And again, you'll be hearing from them shortly after I tell you a little bit about Stride and who we are. Now, if you've heard of us before and you saw K-12, we have updated our name. Now, you will see K-12 along with our school, so that logo has not gone away. But the reason we have changed our name to Stride is because we're the leading provider of online education for grades K through 12, but we've expanded. So we've acquired some companies such as Galvanize, Hack Reactor, Tech Elevator, and MedCerts, and they are companies that help with career development. That way, if there are students that are interested in learning about coding, we have Hack Reactor and Tech Elevator. They help with coding boot camps, as well as Galvanize. And we also have MedCerts, which helps with the pathway of getting a medical certificate. So those are some things that we've added to the company, as well as college prep. So again, if the student is interested in a pathway going to college or going into the career force, we've expanded so they can accommodate those pathways. So this is why we've transitioned to Stride, and we do believe in not just the student, but it being a lifelong learner. So it doesn't just end at K through 12. We want to emphasize that everyone is a lifelong learner. So that's why we have transitioned from K-12 to Stride. As you see my vintage, as I call it, t-shirt for when we had our K-12 Bring Your Child to Work Day. This is one of the t-shirts that we had. So today for our webinar is What's Your Why? And with this webinar, we wanted to hear from some of the employees that work here and hear about their experience being here, their testimonial. And so we're going to be having conversation, and we're going to be asking them just different questions about their role, what brought them here, and we hope that it can be also informative as well, so you can learn more about our company, but also learn about the different people that work here. So we'll first start off with what brought you to Stride. And I'm going to first ask one of our teacher trainers who's been here. I'll start with Christina and have her to just tell us a little bit about her experience with working with Stride.
Thank you. So I am finishing my 9th year with Stride this August. So I've been here almost a decade. And I came when I had my first child. So I had resigned from my traditional school setting. And then when James was about 5 months old, I was looking for something to do because I still wanted to be involved in education. But, I had a 5-month-old and I couldn't be leaving the house daily, and childcare was just about as much as my paycheck. So back then I found K-12, now Stride, and I taught in middle school and high school English for 6 years. And I just really appreciated the flexibility in the past decade or so since I've been with Stride. I've had 4 kids, and it's just been really a wonderful opportunity for me and my family that I can be present for my children, but also stay in what I consider to be another vocation that I have with education. So it's really just the flexibility and then the challenge of working in kind of like the new frontier for education and online teaching. And, nobody knew that COVID was going to happen, but I was so glad that I was in the role that I was already, because we were able just to kind of keep going and just continue our stride, so to speak, not so much for the company name too, but just kind of keep going even during the pandemic. So that's really what brought me to Stride, was just being able to be present for my family. But it's become a wonderful place where I've been able to grow in my career and transition, not just from teaching students, but also being able to teach and support teachers as well.
Thank you, Christina. And also congratulations on being here a decade. That is a wonderful accomplishment. Now, I'll also ask one of our teachers to also share what brought them to Stride. I'm going to ask Megan, and I believe this is your first year here with us. So if you could just share what your first year has been like here at Stride and what brought you here.
Sure. It's funny actually, because I tried to get in with K-12 and Stride. I want to say like 12 years ago, 15 years ago, but didn't make it in. And then COVID happened. So I was in a brick and mortar school and I loved my students. However, I have a stepson who is very high risk. Like a common cold gives him pneumonia. He's hospitalized usually every summer around Labor Day with his asthma and everything. And I was in a classroom that was 100% face to face with about 30 kids, and I just wasn't comfortable. But I had a good friend whose student was going to CPA. She sent me a link for one of the jobs, and I immediately applied and was like, this is what I should be doing. So this is my first year, and I'll tell you, this is the least stressed that I have ever been in my 14 years of teaching. My husband has mentioned multiple times how happy he is that I ended up taking this job, because it's just made my entire life better. I originally did it, because of COVID, and I'm going to stay because I love it, the flexibility and being able to be present for my children as they're going through all the craziness that this past year has been as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. I want to continue with you as just to tell us a little bit about what it's like as far as doing virtual teaching, because I know that's one of the questions that we often get before people apply. They're like, well, what is it like if they've never, been in virtual or they were just in brick and mortar? So if you wanted to just tell us a little bit about your day as a virtual teacher.
Yeah, so I teach classes in the afternoon, and so my mornings usually consist of grading, meetings, lesson planning, those kinds of things. I had amazing mentors that I got set up with right from the get-go. You get great training. I had 2 weeks of training before they even handed me a class, which was amazing, and I was shadowing a lot of teachers. And so my mornings are spent, we get together in our mentor groups, talk about different things, learn how the programs work. And then I teach my classes in the afternoons and have help sessions. Teaching online actually tends to be a lot like teaching in a brick and mortar school. You're using a lot of the same techniques and things, except instead of having kids physically break into groups, you're putting them into breakout rooms to work. But kids still get to collaborate. They still make friends. You still get to have a lot of great relationships with them. And it's, you can have a lot. You can have a lot of fun. I can do some things virtually that I couldn't do in brick and mortar. My animals come in and help me teach a lot, actually, sometimes on accident and sometimes on purpose. But I have what I love is I have a lot of time to plan my lessons so that I can really differentiate my instruction for when I do teach my class. My classes are bigger, I've got maybe 40 kids in a class. However, I have more time to differentiate and really be able to hit specific skills that I can't do when I'm in a brick and mortar school.
Also want to ask Phil, I know that you teach 11th grade at your school. If you wanted to just tell us a little bit about what that's like teaching high school at Indiana.
Yeah, so very similar to Megan, except I kind of go in the morning into the afternoon. So my day starts around 8 o'clock. Classes don't start until 9 o'clock our time. But 8 o'clock, I'm usually starting to get emails through the day, but I'm also like getting my kid ready for the day. I'm able to kind of do both. And so I'm making breakfast and letting the dog out and all that stuff. But I'm also answering emails and making sure that No one has problems seeing my class schedule or things like that. And so then by 9 o'clock, I come down here to the basement. And I have, our classes are 40 minutes with then like a 5-minute passing period for students to kind of reset before they go to the next class. And then, just like Megan said, in the afternoon, I have time to lesson plan, set up groups to help, make phone calls home to parents, kind of get myself, kind of recap the day, figure out what worked, figure out what didn't, and then look at tomorrow, look at the rest of the week, grade a little bit if I need to. And then by the time the evening hits, it's very rare, because we've got this time built into our day, it's very rare that I need to spend the rest of the night grading or the rest of the night lesson planning. When 4 o'clock hits or so, I can most of the time be done and set the computer to the side and be with my family then until the next morning, which, again, when I was driving an hour each way to my old job, I could not do that. I could not have spent that much time at home. There was always something else to be done. And so the fact that, there was one day, you guys were talking about pets being in class. There was one day I cleaned out my fridge while I was teaching because it needed to be done. Like the trash was going to be taken out and I needed to clean out my fridge. So I just set it on the counter and I'm like, just throwing stuff away while I'm teaching. And the kids loved it. At the end of the year, they were like, do you remember that time you cleaned your fridge? I was like, yes, I do. I do. Like I ran out of time and it had to happen, but I was being myself. I was not like sugarcoating anything. I was like, guys, this is life. Sometimes you got to multitask, clean out the fridge. Mike, this is absolutely synchronous. I have got my students in the room with me. If they are not, like, for some reason, if they can't be in the room, they watch recordings later, they email, they check in. I have office hours they can usually come into, but yeah, they are with me just like you guys are with us right now, and just like you would be in a classroom.
Oh, and someone was asking, what subject do you teach, Phil?
Oh yeah, so it's American Lit, so it's 11th grade. American Lit. I will also next year have AP Language and Composition, and like I said before, I am coordinating our homeroom curriculum. So we're a new school. This was the first year for Indiana Gateway, and so we've taken what lessons we learned and are kind of planning on next year. And so one of the things we want to do is maximize the time we have with those kids. So I'm taking the point on that.
Thank you, Phil. And I also want to ask Lashandra about your role and what you teach at your school as well.
Okay, well, I teach English language arts I have all of 8th grade, and the way they have it set up is there are 2 English language arts teachers. So I teach all of 8th grade and half of 7th, and the other teacher teaches all of 6th grade and the other half of 7th. And so we tag team there, and I loved it. At the end of the school year, we got to collaborate and kind of do a pacing guide as to what we're going to do for next year. So I actually came in the second semester of this school year. So I didn't even get to do the first semester. I came in at the second semester of this school year. And from that point on, it was just like, all right, I'm familiar with the online teaching environment because I did online teaching since 2017, but it wasn't in this type of a setting. It wasn't with like an actual school. It was more doing private tutoring, or if any of you guys have heard of like ESL type companies where you're teaching like mostly Chinese kids, you're helping them with tutoring into English. I've done that since 2017. I also was in the brick and mortar, and then I kind of stepped out of brick and mortar and just focused strictly online starting 2017 until now. And what I've always wanted to do, because I've always been an English teacher, a reading teacher of some sort. And so I really wanted to just give kids a passion for reading. And then coming into this, it was, people know what I do because I also have a YouTube channel where I was telling people about my journey of teaching ESL online, teaching online and stepping out of the traditional brick and mortar setting. And then COVID happened. And what was common for me was like, help me, what do I do? What do I do? I'm looking for some online work. And then someone actually asked me, hey, have you heard of this company? And I was like, no, I haven't. So I was like, hey, I have a master's degree in, I actually have a master's degree in curriculum and instruction, and I've been doing it. So I was like, let me check it out. And then I love it that I was able to just do what I've always been doing, which is English and reading. So that really attracted me. And then coming into it, then I just kind of, it felt like I've been with the company for longer than I have. Because everyone was just like, I didn't get I did do the training over how to navigate the system, but I didn't get to do the shadowing because it was like, okay, we're in the middle of the school year. So any questions you have, we're going to assign you a mentor, which was a blessing. I had a mentor, somebody that I can come to that was even available after hours. Like, if you need anything, text me, call me, we can jump into a chat room. I can show you, screen share. And really, I just jumped into it, and it's been a big family, like just a big team. And then I found out that I was pregnant along the way. So being pregnant, that's another thing that kind of, I was like, okay, I have children of my own. So having children, homeschooling because of COVID and being pregnant. And then this just was the perfect thing for me to be able to do what I'm passionate about, use my degree, be able to stay at home and be able to make a living, a career out of it. So moving forward for next year, I'm still going to be doing the language arts. And I happen to be now one of the go-to people for the 8th grade and 7th grade English language arts department in that. And so anybody that's coming in, we have already set out our pacing guide. So we're really just going with it. And my school set up probably a little different than some of your schools, because we have a lot of those students that may have been like kicked out of your traditional brick and mortar, or they've been to so many different schools, or they've been through a lot of trauma. So we have a lot of students that have special needs that we have to cater to and be sensitive to. And so our hours are from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We do have planning time in there and lunch times in there. We have spaces in between our classes. And I do end up doing a little bit more when it comes to the grading or whatnot, because we have such a large spectrum of students with different issues going on at home. So we, in addition to maintaining that personal relationship and reaching out to them, then there's a lot of, okay, well, let me differentiate for this student as opposed to what the classroom expectations are. And so, and I enjoy that. So it's almost like, I'm auntie, teacher auntie. And so with that, coming into that environment and being able to help these children and be a difference. And they tell us, like, at the end of the year, thank you. I've never been to a school like this where the teachers actually gave me a chance, where the teachers actually heard me out and really wanted to help me.
Thank you so much. And I did see in chat some people were talking about as far as the class size. What are your class sizes typically look like for your?
I have the most I had enrolled in the class was about 31, and we did I had we just started it this school year where we have an advisory, which is kind of like a homeroom. So we would have our advisory class and then 4 regular hours, regular class periods. So in each class, I would have about anywhere between 31 and about 25 students enrolled. So it wasn't as big as Megan's. I think she said like 40 or so. So yeah, like 31 to 25 students enrolled in those classes. And then for that, we can always, and then plus the classes were recorded. So there were some students that couldn't attend class because of doctor's appointments or therapy, or we've even had some children that were admitted, hospitalized for different types of hospitals for different types of reasons. So we always had the recordings available, and we counted that towards attendance credit. And then we kept our offices available for them until 5. After 5 was optional for them to reach out to us and have any questions about what they're supposed to do on the agenda.
Thanks. Now, I did see someone asking about as far as the material or curriculum. I did want to go and talk to Jenny and just have her to tell us a little bit about her experience being a teacher trainer and just share with us how that has been for her.
Yeah, so I'll kind of address that question first. So there's kind of 2 pieces to that puzzle. We have a curriculum that the students use, and that is our K-12 curriculum that the students will work from. But as far as live lessons, the teachers plan their own lessons. So you're going to, become familiar with the curriculum that the students are actually accessing every day in the online school. But they're going to take that curriculum and plan out their own live lessons. And I think that that's fairly typical across all the schools. Please speak up if anybody knows differently. But I think that's pretty much the way that typically what you're going to see in the schools, in all K-12 schools. I know that's how I worked when I spent 7 years in the virtual classroom. I worked in the primary grades, kindergarten and first grade, and then also served as an intervention specialist. And that was pretty much the way it worked all the way up. So enjoyed every minute of that, and then left the virtual classroom to serve as an instructional coach, and then transitioned from coaching in the southeastern region to serving as a teacher trainer, and absolutely love my position that I'm in right now. It is really the best of both worlds because, I get to work with just such talented educators across my team, and then also, educators across all of K-12 schools. And so that impact is inspiring. And I mean, it just carries me from day to day. Every day is different for me, which is kind of exciting. That's new because, coming out of the classroom, pretty much in the classroom, you have a schedule and you follow your schedule day to day. So the different from day to day, it was a challenge for me at first, but I've come to love it. It's probably one of the things that I enjoy most about my job. And I think it really brings in the flexibility of, being able to work on various projects, being able to schedule time throughout the day on what's needed. And again, just being able to work with such phenomenal educators, and then knowing that that is going to in turn impact students nationwide is it's huge. So Andrea, I hope that answered.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny. And I did want to address, I know some people were asking as far as for our teachers, do you have to live in the state that you want to teach in? And it is a requirement that our teachers are licensed in that state. Again, we have a teacher from Colorado, Phyllis is in Indiana, and LaShundra is in Oklahoma. But yes, these in order to teach at this school, you will have to have your certification in that state and live in that state. So I wanted to transition to before advice to those that are watching right now. And I'll start with some of our teachers that we have on, but as far as the process, when you were looking for to work for Stride, what was it that stuck out for you? And I'll start with Phil, as far as what stuck out when you were looking for a position here than other places that you may have looked at.
Yeah, so I had been at a brick and mortar school for 5 years. And so COVID and that school's kind of attitude toward technology in the classroom led me to start looking at virtual schools because clearly I was not on the same page as they were. Um, and so when I started looking and I applied to Stride, what I really appreciated was the fact that the questions were clearly questions that someone was going to be looking at. These were not like filler questions or questions that um, you necessarily got in every interview that you went through. And I also appreciated that I had to show a lesson. That if you've applied or if you're thinking about applying, part of the application process is recording your lesson. That was some work. A advice that I would give, looking at the slide, is pick something that you're familiar with. Pick something that you've done in your grad school, your education program, in your previous job. Don't reinvent the wheel. Do something that you're comfortable with. I did a lesson on Hamilton because I had just taught Hamilton, and I rapped in my lesson. And when I did my interview, they were like, we thought you were going to do the whole show. Like they were just surprised. And like, you could tell they had watched the video. And like, I was like, y'all actually watched it. No one just been like, okay, great, he did it. And he didn't look like a complete idiot. Let's hire him. It was someone watched it. Someone sat down and looked at this. Someone read my answers. And that to me was super important because that meant immediately that I was going to be heard. And so many of these questions have been about, do you teach the lessons? Do you have this? Autonomy is huge. Like, there's a curriculum. I'm expected to follow that curriculum, but just like any textbook, I can deviate and I can deliver it in whatever way I see fit at the time. And that does not change. Even if I'm sitting here in my basement with sometimes pajama pants on, none of that changes. It's all the same. So, the fact that I felt like this job application and this process had been developed by teachers or someone who had been in a classroom at some point, that was huge for me because it felt like I was interviewing for something super legitimate, and it didn't feel like a virtual position or a new school that had just started up. It felt it felt comfortable in that regard.
Awesome. Now, Megan, I know that you were talking about your first year. My question, what would you have done, or what was something that you would have wanted to know before? Now that you've gone through your first year, like what was something that you would say that you wish you knew sooner as a way as a advice for those that may be applying?
A couple things that I wish that I had known. I guess I really kind of wish that I had known the schedule more about what it would be like, because it was so up in the air. And you can watch the videos, on the Strides website, but each school is different with how they structure their day. So I would have liked to have known that. One thing that was super helpful for me though was my school. I didn't have to record a lesson. I had to teach my lesson live to my interviewers or my interviewees, or yeah. And they actually sent me a PowerPoint with a kind of how they lay out their lessons, so that I was familiar with how they laid out their lessons. And so if they haven't really told you that, then I would definitely try to connect with someone or ask the principal, is there a format that you like your lessons in? because I think that'll really make it stand out. Our school is a Capturing Kids Heart School, and I have been trained in that extensively. And so seeing all of their slides made it easier for me to be able to slide my Capturing Kids Heart stuff in, which I think kind of set me apart from some of the other candidates. Yeah, I mean, there really wasn't a ton that I wish that I had known before I interviewed, except just kind of what the schedule was going to be like, because I stalk schools when I'm interviewing for them. And so like I try to learn everything possible about them before I even interview. And so I guess that's, what I would suggest is just learn everything. And I noticed that at my school, most of the people had been there for at least 5 years or more. And to me, that's a sign of a good school because there's not a high teacher turnover.
And as Megan was saying, just to let those that are on know, our schools are different from state to state. So again, we do have K-12 public schools, we have private schools, and then we also have curriculum that a brick and mortar may use as well. But just wanted to make mention that, again, from each person's experience, it might not be the same if you're applying to another state, another school, because again, each school has their own, I would say, their own culture. I don't know if any of you all that are watching have gone to any of our meet and greets, but when we have more of those and you're interested in a particular school, I would definitely suggest that you would attend one of the meet and greets. That way you can meet some of the staff that are there and you can get a feel of that culture at that school. So I just wanted to make mention of that over the mic, that yes, each school can be a little bit different. So that's why I was asking each of our teachers to give their experience and what it's like, because it can be different as far as like the time of the day that they're working. Either it could be from 9 to 5 or from 8 to 5, and then just the way they structure their classes. So I just wanted to make sure I had everyone touch on what their day looked like. So I'm seeing some questions in the chat box, and I wanted to make sure that people were able to do so. So if there are questions, we can ask those now. But while you are writing those questions in the chat box, one of the things that I wanted to mention, as far as those that may be interested in joining Stride or wanting to teach at Stride, were just some of the things that we offer. We do offer, as far as benefits, medical, dental, some of our schools, they may have their own 401k if that's a board school, but our public schools, we do offer 401k for them to pay into. And we also have the opportunity for our teachers after 1 year to be able to, we have university partnership with SNHU to be able to get their master's and master's in education and online. And there are other specializations that you can look at as well after teaching 1 year or after being employed with Stride for 1 year, because it's not just for as for teachers, and then there's also employees have the ability to get their master's as well. Another benefit that I also wanted to mention, that we also have employee resource groups for our employees. I know a lot of one of the questions that we get is, how do students connect and how do they interact with each other, whether that's with clubs or whatnot. But we also have ways that our employees stay connected as well with our different employee resource groups. And I did want to call on Phil just to talk about the one employee resource group that he's in and why he decided to join.
Yeah, so an email came across earlier in the year about the Stride Ability Awareness Network, and my wife actually works with individuals with developmental disabilities, and so it's something that's a part of our lives, and I wanted to make sure that if there was a way I could help or be an ally for those folks who we hear all the time that sometimes the technology isn't adaptive enough, and we need to go the extra mile, as some of us have talked about. We need to hit that one student, so that we can guarantee that they're getting the education that they need. And so if there was a way I could help out with that, I was going to take it. And so I signed up for the Ability Awareness Network to, again, do kind of anything I could to promote those causes within Stride, and make sure that we're thinking about them, about those individuals, with everything we kind of do.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. So I'm looking in our chat box. Let me also make sure I didn't miss anyone for... Okay, I saw someone was asking about any schools in Florida. We do, and you can go onto our career site to search for positions in Florida. You can search by state, and you can continue to put your questions in the chat box, but I can talk about how you would be able to apply for positions on our website. So I will go to that really quickly. So to apply for positions on our website, it's www.stridelearning.com/careers. And from there, the picture that you're seeing is when the careers, that's the picture of the careers page. Make sure you click on teaching and academic support opportunities to be able to look for our teaching positions. If you're looking at corporate roles, you can go to the corporate opportunities, and then for career development, that's with the companies that I mentioned earlier, like Galvanize, where you can search for those. Those are for the career development. But for our teaching positions, or either you want to look at our public schools or private schools. I saw somebody ask about Keystone. That is I believe that is one of our private schools that we have. You can look for those positions on under the teaching and academic support. So once you're on our website, you'll want to click on that job board, and then you can search, like we put, for example, TOPS. TOPS is a Texas school that we have to look for positions in Texas, or you could put the state. And then you'll want to register email to create an account, and then you'll want to apply. For teaching positions, again, after you apply, we'll have our recruiter to look over your application. And then if you're asked to move forward, then they'll select you and send you information to prepare your recording, like they were saying earlier, that you'll prepare a lesson, which is 30 minutes or less, and then there'll also be a data portion as well that you would do. After you complete that, then they'll review that again, and then if you're selected again, they'll do a face-to-face. Well, right now, due to the pandemic, it's virtual. So we will send you a link to do a virtual face-to-face interview, and then if selected, then the recruiter would then extend an offer. So I wanted to make sure I made mention of that to those that may be wondering, well, what's the application process, or how do I apply? We do have full-time positions and also some part-time. I'm going to show some of the jobs that we currently have right now. Now, this is a small list. We have over 500 opportunities that are available. So there's plenty of things to choose from. Just make sure you're looking within your state for teaching positions, because again, you do have to be licensed to teach in that state and live in that state. But these are just a few of the positions that we do have available right now. But I did want to make mention of that while we're answering questions. Let's see, someone was asking, when does the school year stop? So if any of the teachers want to just give their when their school year typically starts and when that ends, you can go ahead and hop on the microphone.
For us, for Colorado Preparatory Academy, Teachers go back August 5th, but our students don't start until August 30th. I know one thing I learned when I moved to Colorado was that schools start super early here. Like the normal brick and mortar schools go back the first week of August, but we're also out like the middle of May. And then it's essentially 9 weeks to the day that you have off from your last day teaching to the first day teaching. Teachers have 9 weeks, and then the students have a little bit longer. So we've got a nice long teacher prep time, but we still have the same breaks, you know, the 2 weeks off for Christmas and the spring break and Thanksgiving break and everything. But it just kind of depends on where you live.
Yeah, I was going to say very similar to the previous schedule that I had at my brick and mortar school. We will start, except more time to work on stuff, which is awesome. It's all the time that administration wants you to have but can't give you, they can give you here in my experience. So, yeah, we will start back toward the end of July, and we'll have about a week and a half to 2 weeks before then students will start back. New teachers start even a little bit earlier than that to kind of do some of that in-person training. But yeah, it'll be time for us to connect with each other and sort of set up the year. And we have had 2 weeks since students have been done. So I'm actually still technically working for the next 2 days. Until the 11th. That is our last day. But again, that's been meetings and curriculum planning and getting ready for next year. So it's not going to hit like a freight train when the end of July hits. We're not going to be dreading it because we'll be at least somewhat prepared.
Yeah, my school year is the same as what Phil mentioned. And also they do offer summer school. So the teacher's last day for Oklahoma was last week, June 4th. And then summer school will begin June 14th for 4 weeks. So, and I will be teaching summer school. So they do have a summer school option at some schools as well.
Okay, and let's see. Just checking the chat. Let's see. As far Mike, are you asking is a particular position a full-time or part-time? I do know that we do have part-time and full-time positions. You just have to search for when or what those positions are. Okay.
There was one question. Someone just put training in the question and answer box. But I do want to kind of piggyback on what some other people have said. I actually had the flip side of I kind of had to learn as I went a little bit because my first day, didn't realize it at the time, was the first day of the school. I thought I was walking into 2 days of training, and I literally got emails at 8 a.m. saying, hey, what class does my kid have with you? And I had no idea what was going on. But because it was a new school, we kind of all figured it out together. And there is training. There is training available. There is more training down the road if you need it. It never goes away. That's what people like Christina and Ginny are here for, is to train us on things as needs crop up. I just was in a training yesterday over something new that I'll do for next year because I have an AP class. And so the training and the learning and the needing help and the offers for help never go away. And so if you are one of those people who is maybe nervous about the technology end of things, don't be, because there is always someone there who will help you figure it out. Even if it's a coworker, I am kind of the tech guy for a lot of our teachers. It always happens that way. So training is always there.
And I had the opposite experience from Phil. I was a late hire, so I had already started teaching at my previous school and had been teaching for 3 weeks. And I started September 14th. So school had already started for 2 weeks. And I had 2 weeks of training. I was not handed a class, was not expected to teach a live class for the first 2 weeks of work. And it was, Stride gave me everything that I needed. I had like a whole little course section that I had to go through with webinars and learning how to use everything. And then I would also spend my time shadowing other teachers or watching recordings of other teachers teach their lessons. But I was lucky. It was 2 weeks of getting my feet wet, figuring out the system, watching other teachers before I had to jump in.
I was actually hired at a sweet time. So it was like right at winter break. I was hired 2 days before winter break, and they were like, don't worry about anything. And they sent me emails. So I had like all winter break to look over everything. And then after winter break, then the first week back, which was the first semester of the first week of the second semester, then the kids had kind of no like classes. Like we had class, but it was more like, you know, in a brick and mortar setting where you're like getting accustomed to the rules. This is how we do things. Let's get used to everything. So it was like that for a week. So it was like while they were getting accustomed and we had some new students coming in, then I was like getting accustomed too. And so that was like a sweet time for me, especially coming in the middle of the school year.
Awesome. I did want to address, someone was asking about they applied for a position with Stride. However, they're waiting for their certification. Now, if you're asking as far as would we have anything to do with the process, that's something separate outside of Stride. But I will say, once you have all of that information, then I would then go back to going onto our site to apply for positions. Once you have your certification, those necessary documents, go back onto our site. But as far as any time about that process, that's something separate outside of Strides. But I just want to make sure I mention that. Right now on your screen, you should see our next, I'm sorry, I'm working with 2 screens, so forgive me. You should see about our next webinar, which will be next month, which is Ask a Recruiter. That's on July 14th. And also, if you haven't already, please follow us at Careers at Stride. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you would like to join our talent community where you can hear more about the different events that we have going on, we also talk about what's going on at our company, the different things that departments are doing. You can join our talent community either by scanning the QR code that's on the screen, or we've also put the link in our chat box as well. But I just wanted to make sure I made mention of that. Let's see. Now, I did see someone asking about PE jobs, and we do have requests for those, so definitely go onto our site, and you can definitely search on our website under careers. But we do have requests for PE teachers, even in a virtual setting. Great. Are there any other questions? Let's see, make sure I didn't miss anyone. If not, I'll ask as far as like final thoughts as far as our webinar today from our panelists. If they anything else that they just wanted to share about their experience being with Stride, or any other, if you thought of any other advice that you would give to those that are watching, feel free to hop on the microphone.
I'll share something. I just really think that Stride is a place where creativity and innovation and growth is really valued. So I would just encourage you all, if you do end up applying in your lessons, be creative, think outside the box. What's something that you've always wanted to do in the classroom, but maybe you haven't been able to, don't be afraid to try something like that, because we really do value creativity and innovation. And then, if your leaders are seeing some sort of potential in you that maybe you didn't even have on your radar. I know when I first applied, my principal asked me where I saw myself in 5 years, and I was like, I'm not unambitious, but I just kind of want to be a teacher. Like, that's why I'm here. And then my own instructional coach down the line was saying, hey, maybe you should try out and be an instructional coach. I think you would be good in that position. And then that turned into this teacher trainer role. So I feel like there's just a lot of areas for development and growth here. So we just would want to welcome you and invite you to come and join us. It's a great place to work.
Thank you, Christina. Anyone else?
To piggyback on that a little bit, I got my master's in education technology in the middle of the school year. I got it in February. And I went to HR and said, hey, is there a pay bump? And they said, no, but if you talk to your principals, usually there can be a shift in duties. And so that is when I talked to my principal and said what I would like to do, kind of in the training or the helping other teachers. And that's where we kind of created this position for me because we saw a need. So there's room for growth, there's room for improvement, there's room for movement, if you want that. Also, if you want to be a teacher, no one's ever going to stop you. So it's not a place where I think in a lot of brick and mortar schools we can get stuck, we can get complacent, and I think if you don't want that complacency, I think it's there for you if you want it to be there.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill. I'll say I guess for myself, being here 4 years now, and again, I work in HR, but I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of different people. Even I work in the headquarters, even though now we're virtual, but I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of different teachers. I've met with a lot of different schools. So I've really enjoyed that, being able to meet different people, see different ways that the different schools, how they interact, how they their culture at their school. So that's something that I've really enjoyed, and being able to moderate these webinars. When I first started back in 2017, I'm trying to remember the year. I was just helping as far as putting these webinars together. I wasn't, speaking or anything like that. But now to grow and actually finding speakers for the events and getting a chance to meet different people and learn about their story and how they came to Stride, that's been very rewarding to me. And that's one way that I think that keeps me here, because it's just being able to hear our teachers, their passion about their students and how the ways that they've helped, that's been something that's rewarding to me. So I just piggybacking on the comments from our teachers and our teacher trainers. Like, again, you get a lot of support. You're very well connected with different people, even though you may be virtual. You're usually just a email or a chat away. So to those that are, interested, definitely apply to our positions that we do have open. And well, we wish you, best of luck in your interview process. Before we wrap, I do want to thank all of our panelists that came today, Megan, LaShondra, Christina, Jenny, and Phil, for just talking to us today about their experiences and their roles. And we hope that this was an informative time for those that came, and we hope we were able to, answer as many questions that we could. I know we weren't able to answer all, but I hope that you will join us next month as we have Ask a Recruiter, where you can just ask them different questions about the application process, or, different ways that you can apply for the different jobs. So definitely apply for that. Let me see any other. Let's see. other questions? I don't see any. Nope, I don't see anything new. But I do want to thank again everyone for joining us today. Please feel free to follow us on Careers at Stride. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And again, our next webinar will be Ask a Recruiter on July 14th. But thank you all for joining. And my name is Andrea Wilson, and we will see you next time. Bye, everyone.